Welcome to Ghazali. If we have to describe the present world in one word, I think the only word which comes to my mind to describe the present age is image. Because I feel that there is a virtual bombardment of images today, and such a bombardment had never happened before in human history. Images are thrown at us, and in this bombardment of images, to stand apart as a prominent photographer is a big challenge, because today everybody is a photographer. So we are with us today Amit Mehra, who was judged the best photographer of Asia by Japan, by organization in Japan. He has had many laurels. He has been a brand ambassador for Fuji, he is a brand ambassador for Canon and many other brands. I don't know, there's a big list, and he has traveled extensively shooting pictures and really carved out a niche for himself in the world of photography. Welcome, Amit Mehra. He is in Goa because he is showing his photographs on Kashmir in the Museum of Goa. Let us start with, tell us, why do you shoot?
Well, that's quite an interesting question. Why do I shoot? I give you a very simple answer, because I shoot because it gives me a pleasure. It really fulfills my soul. I shoot for myself first, then I shoot for my client. So first of all, it's the internal world which it's an internal craving, I would say, I would like to satisfy, than the outside. So I shoot for myself, I shoot for my own pleasure. Why I shoot? I would like to show what I witness. I would like people to see what I witness, what I feel. Like in Kashmir also, what I'm displaying here, I always say this is a very unique body of work where I say, I did not shoot what I saw in Kashmir. I shot only what I have felt in Kashmir. So there is a huge difference, because most of the time photographers shoot what they see through their eyes. But there are times, and especially when you say, there's a bombardment of images, which is actually true. So I think photographers should, or at least what I do, I can't say for anyone else, but what I do, I at times close my eyes and try to feel things with closed eyes.
Since you have started with your exhibition about Kashmir, let's talk a little bit about it. One basic difference between the many exhibitions I have seen and your exhibition is, well, you are trying to express the turmoil of Kashmir, the anguish of Kashmir, but at the same time there are no photographs of stone pelting, there are no photographs of actual obvious unrest. How do you sort of explain that?
See, you open any newspaper, any magazine for the last 25-30 years, what you will see after 1989, what you will see, the direct and, as you said, obvious pictures of Kashmir, of stone pelting, strikes, dead bodies, conflict, unrest basically. When I was in Kashmir, I worked for 2.5 years. I started the project in 2006 until 2008. I was also shooting more or less the obvious pictures. But then the artist within me had really shaken me, and I asked the question, why I am doing this? This is not me. I am not a photojournalist. I am not shooting for any publication. But why I am shooting the same obvious pictures? That was the time I dropped my camera. I literally closed my eyes and I thought about my project. And all the images what you see here or in the Kashmir book are the outcome of basically what I have felt, as I said, and the other thing is they're based on my conversations with the Kashmiri people.
So it won't be an exaggeration if I say that you don't shoot with your camera, but you actually shoot with your eyes, but with your closed eyes.
Well, you can say closed eyes, because at times one has to close eyes, because when you are shooting with open eyes also, there are definite images. But I was committed to myself, neither I am going to shoot, in the case of Kashmir, neither I am going to shoot the obvious images, the beauty images of Kashmir, the beautiful landscape of Kashmir, or the obvious images of unrest. So I wanted to push the boundary. My idea was to deal with the psyche of the people, how the people in a conflict zone suffer.
Can you show a few of these images?
Sure.
And then I would like to talk to you about also how you started your journey. So let's have a look at a few images. Especially, I was quite intrigued by this image where there are lots of birds and the human form is covered with a bird.
There's a very while I was doing this project, I was reading a lot about Kashmir. So there's a very famous book by an author, Basharat Peer, the Kashmiri, and the book called Curfewed Nights, where he mentioned that when we Kashmiris have been picked up by the forces, we never picked up by the identities, either by name or by our IDs. We have been picked up randomly. So we had no faces. So I was trying to attempt a portrait where there is no face. The atmosphere is quite
very
there
interesting.
because
So the
atmosphere is
faceless
about
people are just picked up.
faceless people. The pigeons are there, the Azadi, the slogans are there, whatever the social outcome is there. So they are the faceless people, what with the form of Azadi in the background.
Yeah, now let's start with when you tried to become a chartered accountant, and then abandoned it, and then started photography. Tell me about your teachers, about your learning years.
See, in 1988, I passed out and I started. I took the admission in chartered accountancy, and till 1990, I had been doing chartered accountancy, and I passed out 2 semesters. But there was a strong urge of doing something which even I didn't know what to do, but I was pretty sure that I don't want to do chartered accountancy.
You were desperate.
I was very desperate. I was rather frustrated. So I left it. One day I just get out of the office where I used to work, and the gentleman, my boss, asked me what you are going to do. And now I don't feel nice about what I told him, but what I told him is, sir, I don't know what I'm going to do, but one thing is sure, I'm not going to come back. I was a bit rude, but maybe because of my frustration. Later on I went and said sorry to him for that also, but I was pretty sure that I'm not going to come back to this. I started digging my own life, looking for options, and one day I didn't even have a camera, so I borrowed a camera. I put a roll, I borrowed money to get some rolls, and then somehow I get a chance to meet the legendary S. Paul. S. Paul was the photo editor of Indian Express for 28 years. He was the first man who actually is single-handedly responsible to get photojournalism in India. And apparently he taught many you can say celebrity photographers, including Raghu Rai. So he was our guru. I worked under him for 2 years. It was a very rigorous training. I don't think even my students can that kind of rigorous training. From 6 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock at night. We were just shooting and only dealing with photography. So for 2 years I worked with him, and then I started on my own.
What was your first assignment, rather, when did you actually sell your photograph first? First sale of your photograph, first earning from your photograph?
See, in August 90 actually, I remember the date also, 19th August 1990. That was the first time I sold my picture, the very first picture, and that was for 250 rupees. So from there I moved on, and then as the year moved on. The zeros also moved on.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I think you put it very beautifully the other day when we were having a conversation that your success as a photographer is from desperation to from being desperate to being passionate.
yes.
That was your journey. Now let's talk about a few of your assignments, celebrated assignments. You were commissioned to do the book on the Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Yes.
So please tell us a little bit about that.
See, in 2002, the ex-president, late Mr. K.R. Narayanan, commissioned. He wanted to do a book. His tenure was getting over, and he wanted to archive the entire Rashtrapati Bhavan, which was never been done. And in fact, that was the first book has been shot on in all over the world on any president house. Even White House didn't have by then any book. So that was his initiative, and he called India's best photographers, and I was selected for that. So I did a book with the author Aman Nath. It turned out to be a beautiful book. So that is the whole. We shot every nook and corner of the President House.
How many rooms does it have?
Well, it has more than 300 rooms, but the active rooms are, I mean, that includes the Secretariat, that includes the godowns. Very few rooms are open. I mean, you can say, let's say 50-55 rooms have been open. Rest of the rooms have been kept for some other purposes. By then, I don't know what is the status now. Yeah, a lot of changes for good have happened since then also. Yeah.
Then the other important book which you did was the book of India. Yeah. What is the title of the book?
India, a Timeless Celebration.
Yeah, a Timeless Celebration, which about 9 heads of the state worldwide have been presented this book by the Indian government. So tell us about this book. How did you go about that? How were you commissioned?
I was doing a very interesting assignment. I have been commissioned an assignment in Egypt where I was shooting the temples of Egypt. And when I was reading about, I read a lot before starting a project. When I was reading a lot about the history of Egypt, it reminded me that we were also the contemporary civilization that was a Egyptian civilization, Nile civilization, and here is the Indus Valley civilization. In the case of Nile Egyptian civilization, nothing else is there except the temples. A lot of other people came after Egyptians. The Greeks came after the Greeks. Romans came after the Romans. Arab came, and they started erasing whatever the previous civilization was. But where in our civilization, we are still going on.
There's a continuity in our
There's a
civilization.
continuity even after that. 5,000 years back, that civilization was thriving in Egypt, and at that same time, that was the time, if we say, that was the time of Lord Krishna here. So both the civilization was thriving, but we are still thriving. But here, wherein in Egypt, there's only stones are there. So that struck me. Why we are thriving? What is there in our continuity? What is the strength in our country? The answer to me, which came to me, is like acceptance. We have accepted everything. The compositeness of India has accepted everything, and that's why India is still going strong.
I can't disagree with you, because I think it is very, very important that we keep the plural structure of this country.
It's important.
Yeah, it's important.
I mean, it's important. What it is our identity. It's like, losing the plural structure of our country is like losing our own identity.
Absolutely.
So, the book is about how beautifully India has
assimilated
cultures. All the religion in its fold, and the book is based on 7 Indian religions, practicing religions in India. The text has been done, the essay has been done by Sir Mark Tully, because the idea was, what made you to choose India as your home? I asked Mark Tully, what made you to choose India as your home? You are a foreigner. So I thought nobody would be a better person than you to write an essay for this book. Fortunately, that book was liked by so much that that book has been picked up by the Ministry of External Affairs, and they made it like the official book of the Government of India.
Okay. So you were not actually commissioned for doing this book. You created the book, and then it was
created the book.
accepted.
I created the book, and then they said, okay, no, not. First of all, they said, we want exclusive rights for this book. We said, no, we can't give you the exclusive rights. They said, but they were so desperate, they said, okay, whatever it is, it is. We wanted to throw the book in the market also. So we published the market edition, they published the external Ministry of External.
I was in Korea last week, and one of the things which we gave to the Koreans in the 4th century, we gave Buddhism. And before that, they had some kind of a shamanistic religion. And I was wondering, I mean, now Buddhism came from India, foreign religion of a sort for them. Would they be doing a Ghar Wapasi program? And go back to the shamanism. So anyway, I think it is very important that we continue with the plural structure and we celebrate the multi-religious structure of this country. Now, you have been invited by so many different countries to shoot. Image says more than words. So, for example, recently you were invited by Mauritius. 5 photographers from 5 continents were invited.
It was quite an honor, you know,
Yeah.
it was quite an honor. 5 celebrity photographers, in fact, one photographer whom even I follow, Nadav Khandar, he has been invited. 3 Net Geo photographer, 1 me, 1 Skandar. And so 5 of us have been invited by the government of Mauritius to shoot Mauritius. It was quite an incredible assignment, one of the lifetime honors. So we shot the Mauritius.
How long did you stay there?
Every photographer was there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So we were there for 2 weeks, one after the other, not all of them at the same time.
Okay.
I had been shooting a lot in Mauritius in the past also, in Mauritius, in Seychelles, in that part of Africa. I did a lot of work, a lot of commercial assignments, my architectural assignments. But this was one of the rare honors.
I do not know really whether Goa government has invited any photographers to come and shoot Goa and perhaps create an interesting book, not to my knowledge.
I doubt it. We don't practice photography like that, you know. In our country, photography, like I'll give you a very small example. I teach in Tashkent University, and there's a photo biennale. And photo biennale is basically the child of the Prime Minister of Uzbekistan. That was his idea, that was his brainchild. And he initiated that photo biennale. Now, when the Prime Minister of the country initiates an art form, nobody can stop it. So they take it so seriously, but unfortunately in our country, photography is still, I mean, by going by population, you know, we must be having the maximum number of photographers. And India has produced now incredible photographers all over the world. There was a time when photographers used to come to India to shoot for clients here, but now we go abroad to shoot for their clients.
How this assignment for 2 weeks in Mauritius?
Yeah.
So I saw that you were also given a helicopter to shoot with.
Yeah, we did aerial shoot. I wanted to shoot. In fact, I was the only photographer because I put that. I had a desire to shoot Mauritius from the sky. So I shot twice in 15 days. So it was 2.5 hour ride.
Okay.
So we flew 2.5 hours twice and shot every island of Mauritius from the.
Okay, wonderful. One more question is connected with Mauritius. Now, I am doing an assignment, rather a project connected with Mauritius. If you see the names in Mauritius, they are half Indian and they are sort of twisted Indian names. And that's because the indented labor was taken. Exactly. Whoever the British officer was, wrote whatever name he heard, became the future name of that person. Exactly. So, have you sort of shot from the point of view of Indian influences in the Mauritian landscape?
Yes, definitely. You know, definitely we shot like there is a place called Ganga Talab.
Ganga Talab, okay.
Yeah. So Ganga Talab is a place. It's actually a pilgrimage, like we have here in India. We have Haridwar. In Mauritius they have Ganga Talab, and the Shivratri, Mahashivratri is the biggest festival there.
In Mauritius.
In Mauritius, yeah. So and the whole landscape, if you see in that area, looks. I mean, Mauritius looks like India. You know, it's almost like you are moving in Goa or in any of the Indian beach city or tropical area, because they speak Hindi. The population there is 90% Indian, 10% is European.
Yeah.
So you don't feel, I mean, rather you don't miss home.
We don't have much time, but I would like to see some of the pictures of Mauritius. And then
Yeah.
the last thing we'll talk about perhaps is your book, which you did with iPhone, Roznama.
Yes.
Yeah. And also perhaps a little reference to pictures which you shot in Paris, because you were
Yeah.
invited to shoot Paris, and I think you are again going to shoot Paris.
Yes, I've been invited by the government of France to shoot Paris, to document the life in Paris basically. So it was again a rare honor and wonderful assignment. I was there for 6 months. I shot each and every street of Paris. I mean, where will you get this kind of opportunity and to shoot something, and that is at the expense of the government. So I had been given every possible facility to shoot Paris, and then on the top of that, that exhibition went through Alliance Française here in India, in 19 Indian cities and 8 cities in France. So that body of work has been shown quite a lot. Coming back to now Roznama, Roznama is actually a Persian word for daily diaries. So when my daughter was born in 2012, it was very difficult to shoot her with a DSLR. So that is the first time I opted for iPhone. So I would say, you know, a beautiful gift in my life came in 2012 and followed by an iPhone. So I decided to document her life, and wherever both me and my daughter went along to meet, suppose if I'm coming to meet you or to my friend, so I started shooting everything around her. So that book is actually an outcome of her
Engagement
life.
with your daughter. Yeah.
And surprisingly, you know, that is the first book of India, and the first book of India shot on any mobile phone or iPhone, or that is the first book in Southeast Asia shot on iPhone. So it's quite an incredible thing.
Okay, one last question. Okay, what will be your advice to the young photographer?
Take a pause, deep pause, think twice before clicking, before pressing the shutter.
Okay. Thank you. Really, I think one of the things we must learn from Amit Mehra is that the only purpose of living is to be happy. And if you do something which you love to do, there is a possibility that you will be happy. If you do something which you don't like to do, you will definitely be unhappy. And Amit Mehra, you see him, is a very happy man because he basically pursued his passion. As far as the advice to the photographers is concerned, what I learned from Mr. Amit Mehra is that to be a good photographer, you also need to be a good reader. He never tackles the subjects unless he has a thorough knowledge of that. He reads, he understands the subject, and to read a newspaper, to read books and to read everything and then tackle the subject is very important. So I think thank you very much for enlightening us, and I think our audience will definitely love this program. Thank you very much.